The Spirit in the Body by Robert Crosbie. Letter 32. I think that what we have to do is to carry on the work of disseminating the philosophy of Theosophy in the best way known to us, avoiding the errors of omission and commission that have been observed by us. Thus working in and through the minor currents, we begin to learn the greater lesson. The Lodge has to have its agents in the world of men. Those who can to any extent assimilate the Master, to that extent they are the representatives of the Master, and have the help of the Lodge in its work. In a letter of K.H. to Syatt, he says that the work of the Society has to be carried on by carefully devised plans by the best minds among you, or words to that effect. Having the fundamental principles, we have to put them into practice by applying them in every way, in our lives and in the work. All this is part of our schooling. There is no set way given us nor any particular form and method, we have to work it out, and yet all that we do has their help. We shall do rightly and well in any event, if we are single-hearted in what we do. It is true that we have landmarks here and there to guide us, but to be able to recognize these is also a part of right knowledge. The power of the initiatory in right direction has to be developed, and that must be done by exercise. If what we have undertaken leads to adeptship, we have to begin the development of the powers here and now, while clearing up our natures. One process is complementary to the other, if both are carried on. All this by way of add-in to what you say. We cannot prevent people from doing the things they can do, and would not use force even if we could, because the mind has to be free to choose, otherwise there would be no real progress. We might apply an analogy right here: let oxygen represent the truth, and nitrogen purely terrestrial conceptions. The more heterogeneous the conception, the less room for oxygenation in any given vehicle. There can be no breath whatever without some oxygen, and a little is better than none at all. Perhaps the Tingali, Besat and other stripes of Theosophy have their place in the great economy of consciousness. They must have, or minds would not seize and hold that kind. If the kind does not bring the expected result or knowledge, a further search is indicated. It is better to have no side, for it is all for the Master, and he will look out for all, if each does just right, even if, to our view, another seems not to do so. By not looking at their errors too closely, the Master will be able to clear it all off and make it work well. Hence, go on, and keep the spirit that you have only to proceed, and leave the rest to time and the Lodge. I think that this is a good attitude for us all in the matter of theosophical claims and exponents. Every person really waked up by them will touch us sooner or later if we hold to the straight line. Meditation as used by us, is what is called in Sanskrit dhaya, i.e., want of motion, and one-pointedness. The main point is to free the mind from the power of the senses, and to raise a current of thought to the exclusion of all others. Realizatio comes from dwelling on the thing to be realized. WQJ says, to meditate on the higher self is difficult, seek then, the bridge, the Masters. The patient dwelling of the mind on a single thought results in the gaining of wisdom, and it is thus that the true occultist is developed. Aspiration toward the higher self should form part of the daily meditation, the rising toward the higher planes of our being, which cannot be found unless they are sought. Earnest and reverent desire for Master's guidance and enlightenment will begin the attunement of the nature to the harmony to which it must one day respond. Concentration on a single point in the teaching is a road to the philosophy, self-examination, a road to knowledge of oneself. To put oneself in the place of another, to realize his difficulties, and thus be able to help him, is that faculty, which when extended makes it possible for the adept to understand the nature of the stone or other form of consciousness. Meditation is a good beneficent practice leading to a great end. It is also a great destroyer of the personal idea. Generally speaking, a ray comes from a light, The ray is not the light itself, but a projection of it, and yet is the light, because without the light there would be no ray. The color of the light is clear and uniform. The ray is changed in color by the substances through which it passes. When the ray is indrawn, it is of the same color as the light and is the light, in fact, was the light all the time, for the appearance of the different colors in it was not from the light, but from that through which it passes. Unity, one in essence. There is nothing but the self. Was this what you had in mind? I will mail the incidents. It will require considerable keenness to pick out valuable information from this book, because it is composed of incidents which are often unrelated to each other as to time. You will, however, get something from it as to general idea, dismissing, of course, any personal conclusions of the author. You will note that the tenant of the body is considered as the same all the time by him. There is also a terrible wound spoken of, in regard to which there is no information, also a desperate sickness. A change in occupancy might be looked for about that time. I do not know the cause of the wound, and it does not matter, nor is it necessary to know. We can understand something of the personal nature, habits and manners running concurrently with something else. By comparison with the case of WQJ, the incidents are what others saw, and, of course, do not relate to what the relators did not see or understand. From our point of view, we may be able to discern matters unperceived by them, from what they relate. They observed the personality and the effects produced through it, but had not the slightest idea of the nature of the consciousness and power behind these, masked as they were by commonplaces. Great is the mystery of the human ego. I think you will find the book very interesting. We are preparing for the future as best we can and feeling our way, taking advantage of the seasons and opportunities. Onward and upward is our watchword, and we might as well add to it what the old lion of the Punjab did, the word forevermore. Well, good nights to you, even if days are not what we would like.